Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Crypto Hipsters podcast, where I interview founders and co-founders, entrepreneurs and artists, executives and stay-at-home hipsters in crypto and blockchain around the world. And I have an amazing podcast for you today. Let's get to it. And today, coming from China, we have Pedro Torres, who is the co-founder and in charge of Quant at Roseon.Finance. Pedro, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me here tonight.
You're welcome. The first question I ask you to kick off with everybody is, what is your background, and is it a logical background to what you're doing now?
That will be interesting. I would say yes, but let me see if I actually can make people understand, how I understand the way that it's being related. So my formal education, at least when I say formal, is what I finished as a career in my bachelor's, was philosophy. So my strong background is in philosophy. But as soon as I finished university in philosophy, I actually drifted to some other areas, especially when it came to technology, and I became a developer. And of course, now that you've seen how it all came true with crypto, once I started going into technology, you heard about this concept of blockchain and consensus algorithms and all these nice things about cryptography in 2016. And I was like, whoa, this is like the perfect playground, the perfect sandbox to join both philosophy and also economic models. So that is my background. I would say it comes from both ways.
Great. So so what is Roseon.Finance, and how are you bridging the gap between centralized and decentralized economies?
Okay, Roseon.Finance was actually born out of the ideas that right now, going back to what I mentioned about having this background on computer science, there's this distinction between data and information, right? So you can get a lot of information, like sensory information. You see things all the time, you hear things all the time, but it's really hard to kind of make sense out of things. It's really difficult to have a narrative, especially when you don't know where the facts come from. And I know in the States they have this whole debate about real news or fake news. So it's really hard to get good data from a lot of information. And of course, with the technology that we have available to us, it's really easy to get the information. So Roseon Wallet was born out of the idea that the DeFi market is here to stay. Cryptocurrencies are solid. There's nobody that can deny that. In 2021, back a few years, people could speculate that it was only going to last for a few months, a hype, everything was going to disappear, it wasn't stable, it wasn't mature enough. But now it is impossible, it won't just go away. So the idea of Roseon and our goal is to actually make sense of everything that is happening and put it on a single application, on a one-time shop where people can go in and they can make their decisions.
And what kind of decisions? With investment?
Oh, of course. Since we're an aggregator, we're actually putting together the latest of everything that is going out there, but also the best. And of course, you can go into different categories. What is the latest projects to be launching out there? What is the best DeFi dApp that you should actually connect to? What is the latest project trying to do an IDO, and so on and so forth. So instead of people having to go to different sources online, which could be unreliable, or also they could, not have a good history when it comes to this, Roseon took this task of aggregating everything on a single application for everybody. You can get in and it will be like using your social media. You open Facebook, you open Instagram, you want to see what is the latest trend, what is the latest hashtag. Roseon is going to do the same thing for all its users. You are going to be able to see their latest NFT art. You're going to be able to purchase crypto in and out, as well as connect to any DeFi dApp that is available. So in this sense, we're a full aggregator, and we're not just aggregating things on Ethereum, but we're also supporting Binance Chain as well.
So before I go forward with the next questions, I just need to do a definition here, because I started in crypto in 2017, and I was in the ICO space, and you just said IDO. Could you just let our audience know what IDO means?
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's IDO. It stands for Initial Decentralized Offering. So in 2017, you have this model of ICO, Initial Coin Offering, and of course, it comes from traditional finance, which is IPO, which is what Coinbase is, right? They will go and list on the stock exchange. And then during 2018, we shifted to this, I think, idea that's already been forgotten by a lot of people, which was the STO, which is the Security Token Offering. But that then never really matured. And nowadays, what we're seeing is that we don't need to depend on a centralized platform or an exchange or a single project launching its website. What we're seeing now, all the good projects that are coming along, they're actually erasing the funds decentralized by the use of smart contracts. So this new approach of funding all these projects in a decentralized way are referred to as IDO. So in this, for example, in the Roseon.Finance, we launched our IDO last night, and we were able to sell 100% of our supply on Yellow Road, which is an IDO pad. IDO pad is the places where this IDO sales takes place, as well as the BSC pad. So if I say IDO, it is similar to ICO with the distinction that now we do it decentralized and using a smart contract.
Great, and you did it last night, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the clarity. So my next question is, Roseon.Finance is taking a hybrid approach to crypto. Could you briefly talk about what a hybrid approach means, and then could a hybrid approach benefit both institutional and then retail end users like me?
Sure. The idea of the hybrid approach is that you will still have 100% control of the decisions that you make. Everybody's free. They will have control of their assets. But by being, let's say, more centralized in that sense, that would allow us to make sure that we meet a threshold of when it comes to quality. For example, if you want to be integrated within the Roseon application, part of the requirements that you will need as a DeFi developer or a product creator, you will need to be audited. You will need to have your source code public, and so on and so forth. So that's what I mean by we're centralized in the sense that we control what are we displaying in the application to make sure that it's up to the standards of security and also technology for all of our users.
Okay, so let's explore that security. The bull market that we're living in right now, in addition to lots of animal coins, right? We'll call it that. There's really created two main avenues of economy, right? It's created DeFi, decentralized finance, created NFTs, and the NFT art world is exploding. But as a result, I want to say that wallets and exchanges have never been more confusing. What are some of the areas of confusion, some of the barriers to entry, complexity, and security issues?
I think if somebody's listening to this for the first time and they're interested in just getting into this, and perhaps they don't have, because once you're inside, I've been here for 5 years. I can make sense of new things coming up, fast in a quick manner. So somebody has this idea, check this out. I can kind of make sense of it initially, but a lot of people, they cannot do that. I mentioned IDO, and perhaps a lot of people always say, oh, IDO is similar to ICO, but I don't know specifically what it means. So starting from that approach, what we're trying is to make sense of everything that's happening in a way that everybody can follow along. So we also have this idea of having an educational approach or kind of simplifying things for the users. There's a lot of challenges, and of course, it's just like any other company who's bringing itself out to the market. We'll need to adapt not just to changes in the technology, but also we need to adapt as well to new regulations as well. So when it comes to that, Roseon is quite flexible in order to help users navigate. You can think of us kind of your companion app or GPS into this, but we will let users explore freely the DeFi ecosystem.
So at a higher level than Roseon, I know what you're doing. I get it. Thank you. At a higher level, though, at an industry-wide level, what do you see as some of those challenges, and how do we as an industry solve those or address those challenges?
That is actually an interesting question, but because when it comes to the industry, there's a lot of speculation that can arise out of that. Because, for example, when you mention industry, I don't think it's as simple as somebody doing something new, right? Even if you do something new, sometimes you go against the trend, or perhaps you're actually too early or also too late. So when it comes to challenges in the industry, my approach when I create a product is that I'm going to be focusing on building something of quality, and I'll leave up to the users to make some sense of it and change the industry, right? When you're innovating something and you're creating something, you can have your goals and your dreams of where do you envision the product going, but at the same time, you don't have a precision of saying, yes, I'm going to revolutionize everything. Usually that happens in a not so clear way when the users themselves find themselves in the moment that they realize, oh, this is actually changing how I could do things. I couldn't do this 2 weeks ago. I couldn't do this 2 or 3 months ago. This is brilliant. And this is actually what happens with most products in the industry level. If you will go back 1 or 2 years, most of the products that exist now didn't exist, or when they were being created, people didn't thought that they were going to be worth dozens of billions of dollars, for example. So that's when people say, oh, what about the industry? But my approach when it comes to that is we will need less speculation and getting more focused on creating good products and innovating, and then everything else is just it's up to the trend, like you mentioned, for bull markets and people. In the case of Roseon, there's a lot of projects that have been launching, and the difference with 2017, for example, is that most of these products, they're just not ERC20s, they're also other blockchains. So with Roseon, what we want to do is we want to integrate these other ERC20s, but also we want to expand beyond the capabilities of Ethereum, and we're also going to be aggregating things from other chains. So if you're new to DeFi, you don't have to be limited yourself by just having to go to Ethereum, buying ERC20s and so forward. In that sense, you could call us that when I designed the product, it was agnostic, right? We were not forcing users to abide by, let's say, what we wanted or what I wanted. We wanted them to have a good product that they can adopt, and we can adapt it to them.
So when you're innovating and you're building, right? You take user experience into account. You take into account what the user experience is now or what it's going to be, or do you look at both? How do you evaluate?
I think if you say what it's going to be, it definitely has to be some sort of deep reflection, because you understand what the technology is, right? When people invested on Ethereum, the Ethereum Foundation, for example, they knew what they were doing, that they were going to be changing the world, but they never figured out that Ethereum was going to be so expensive that you send a transaction and it will be $40. In the case of Bitcoin, it was a similar thing. So when the first use of Bitcoin was to buy, coffee. People were trading it in World of Warcraft, 2012. The first thing anybody bought with Bitcoin was pizza, and that was revolutionary, right? Nobody thought that this could be possible, but it was happening. But we never thought it was going to go to 40,000. So I think on that vision, it goes two ways. You would think that you're doing something revolutionary. You're actually changing things that were not possible before you. But to the extent that you're changing them, then that's the real complicated part.
So you're saying that people are not necessarily agnostic, but it's beneficial for the technology to be agnostic so that people can bring their opinions and ideas to the table, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, great, thank you. And so let's look a little bit more about the user experience. User experience still remains a concern. I'm teaching my friends all the time how to use wallets and stuff and what they are. But in addition to simply improving technology, what steps do you think needs to happen to improve, experiences? Do you think we need, improve cybersecurity, more regulations, education, or combination?
I think it's education, because in the case of crypto, it is actually, if you would try to brute force an encryption that would allow you access to your private keys, it will probably take hundreds of billions of years. And I would say hundreds of billions of years. The lifespan of the lifetime of the universe is like 14, 15, at least the visible universe. But if people actually look at the complexity of finding a hash that matches a 256 bit encryption, they will say, look, we don't need to improve the security itself, because it's actually impossible to somebody to find my keys that I control. But that's a problem. You control them. So just like any other human nature, it is quite simple to lose access to your funds, to misplace them and let somebody hack them, or by falling into a scam. So when it comes to security, okay, you can improve consensus algorithms, have different coins that can be mined in a number of different ways, using less electricity, more green, and so on and so forth. But when it comes to the security of the keys, it's the safest technology that we have there. This is like military grade. When it comes to the human part, yes, we will definitely need more education, because first, we need to admit that crypto is not as simple as just buying some coins and making some money. That's actually a huge burden and a huge responsibility. I remember one resource that I could recommend to anybody is reading Andreas Antonopoulos, which is a really good educator. Some people perhaps know him as like Bitcoin Jesus, because he has this evangelistic approach. He mentioned that when you buy Bitcoin, you are actually turning yourself into a bank. So with that in mind, think that when you're holding your own funds in your own crypto wallet, you mentioned you're helping your friend set up wallets, you're basically turning your friend into a bank. And just like any other bank, he needs to get his security up to date and make sure that he's allowing people, that he trusts in order to use that money. The bank is not going to send you some money out of a loan if the bank doesn't do its due diligence and check up on you. So if you're turning yourself into a bank, just be careful to who are you sending money to.
I never consider myself as a bank. I consider myself as a portfolio manager, but sounds pretty cool. Speaking of banks and institutions and customer service, bank tellers or whatever, customer service departments in a lot of places, are a thing of the past. And then I read your white paper and I asked myself, or are they? What are the current, drawbacks in the existing financial system, and how can we improve them in the crypto economy with this idea of customer service in mind?
I think banks have definitely improved when it comes to customer service. At least they have definitely improve it in a number of years. I remember 10 years ago, I was trying to go to Europe. I went to Slovakia, and I called my bank. Yeah, what, I cannot take out any money. And they're like, yeah, we approved your card in Slovenia. I'm like, wait, that's the country next door. I'm actually in Slovakia, not in Slovenia. Oh, sorry. And I actually was like 24 hours without any sort of cash. So I was like, oh my God, this is a nightmare. I, of course, immediately dropped my bank. But they are definitely improved. And there's a lot of stories from anybody. If you ask anybody what are their nightmares with their banks, they will make dozens of anecdotes. I think if anybody wants to see what is the only thing that have not improved, I suggest anybody to go to a bank and they try to wire some money to some other country, and most probably they will find their account frozen, even if they did everything wrong. Because what happens is that banks, they have this problem not just with customer service, but also in order to be keeping up with regulations, which are not necessarily 100% bad. They're just completely inefficient in most ways. Why? Well, because in order for you to be efficient, you will need to have a technical education, which unfortunately, I need to say this, but at the same time, it's not a big secret. Most of the people who are elected public officials, they lack this approach when it comes to technology. In the case of the United States, you can see that we have, usually when the police or the government wants to take a technology company in order to get some sort of information, they will find themselves that the company doesn't keep track, or it's encrypted, and so on and so forth. So you can see on these events, I'm not trying to politicize the situation in any sense, but during these events, you could actually see the lack of understanding by the people who make the public policies. And of course, the banks, they want to abide by those policies in order for them to keep the licenses, in order for them to keep making money just like anybody else. And then they fall into this troubled bureaucracy, and then everything just becomes less efficient. And when it comes to customer service, nowadays, it's really hard if you want to get a customer service the traditional way. Get into a phone call, wait for them to help you, and so on and so forth. Nowadays, most customer service should just be transitioned to sending a few emails with really good steps that you can apply to yourself, and problem is solved. Also, but having a good education as a customer. If you want to understand what something is happening to your bank account or your website, you could have to understand that perhaps the server is offline, or maybe they're doing some maintenance upgrade, and that will make things a little bit easier for everybody also in the industry. On crypto, on the other hand, I think that there's not such thing as a customer service, because if you lose your money, that's it. There's no fraud department you can necessarily call. But I think the best customer service in crypto is people sharing their knowledge and sharing their experiences in order to help other people out there, which in a certain way, it's one of the things that I hope to achieve on this podcast, just to share my knowledge and understanding to help somebody out there. Even if it's one person, 5, 10, that should be enough. As long as they can keep pushing that knowledge forward, they will definitely be doing the customer service of crypto.
So I'm going to give you an opportunity then, because you said two words that kind of confused me, that you put it together in the same sentence or paragraph. You said politicians and efficiency. I don't think
that's an oxymoron.
I don't think of the two together either. But what would you say to a politician about how we can improve efficiency by using platforms like yours and like in crypto?
There's enough resources out there. I don't know, because you're a politician and you're kind of shaped in a way that you have this world vision of how things should be done. And most of these people, I think that they're just so focused on not having technology involved in any sort of way in order for it to be a better government, right? The entire idea of government out there that most of these people have is a government by law. Right, we're just going to enact some law that's sitting on a piece of paper. Perhaps some things are not enforceable, and if you break the rule, we're just going to be like giving the worst punishment, and we're actually not studying anything. So this government by law of brute force is actually an approach that is not efficient. There's a lot of data points that people can take from that, and they can reach their own conclusions. But if somebody was a elected public official, I would definitely say that they need to use technology in order to keep their jobs. It's as simple as that. If you're a public official, you don't care about technology, you don't care about having the latest iPhone, Android, you don't care about learning how to use a command line interface, you don't know the difference between what it is a compiled language and an interpreted language, okay, that's fine. But at least admit that if you want to keep your job for the next elections, you at least need to know how to use a media buying campaign. And just start there. Just start by using these tools that you have, and then everything will make more sense. But we need people who are technology oriented. Otherwise, they're just going to be left back. And it goes both ways. Nowadays, most jobs, they need employees that have some knowledge in technology in order for them to find a job in the job market. Why not this apply to the politicians? It should do. If you're voting for an official from either party and the person is not has some inclination to know technology, then I would suggest to maybe perhaps reconsider, because that person is lacking one of the requirements in the 21st century.
Interesting point. I agree. So I want to stay on this idea of efficiency, because I know one of the things that you do is you aggregate, CeFi, centralized exchange, and DeFi, and NFTs and as well, and your focus is on relationships and mass adoption. So what do you putting it all together, and bringing both worlds together, how can this benefit the mass adoption of crypto? And if it doesn't, then what could?
Mass adoption of crypto. I think I hear that every time I hear that every week, and perhaps every 2 days I read that in some comment forum online. Right? Mass adoption of crypto. I don't know. I don't think there's going to be such a thing as a mass adoption. And it's not necessarily something bad. I just think that the vision that people have of what is a mass adoption is like your mom is, or your uncle, or your aunt is using crypto to buy some groceries. Where most probably what we expect from mass adoption is you hear your neighbor saying something about Bitcoin, and it's because it's going up. So I think when people think of mass adoption, they actually should be thinking of, does my neighbor actually knows what is the technology behind Bitcoin and the philosophical and political implications, or what it means to run a consensus algorithm that cannot be stopped? If the answer is yes, then okay, we're reaching mass adoption. If your neighbor is talking about some meme coins and some NFTs selling for $100,000, then perhaps he's just following the news, and as soon as the news stops talking about it, he's gonna forget it, because he never got something right. He just wants to make some quick money, which is not wrong. Everybody wants to make some quick money, but it's not mass adoption. So I would define mass adoption as when people do understand what is the implications of the economical implication of this technology, rather than just looking at the price and everybody's playing around with it, right? So that's my distinction, at least when it comes to that specific definition. I was saying that in reality, it doesn't matter if we reach this mass adoption, because we really don't need the mass adoption. We already have enough. The coin market cap, if you go to coin market cap, the entire crypto valuation, it's over $2.2 trillion, right? We're doing pretty well. So
what if the definition of mass adoption was 51% or greater advocacy of the implementation of new technologies into our daily lives? What if that were the definition? Then what?
Okay, if you want to quantify by, let's say, more than 51%, I would say that if you do a Gallup survey, perhaps this already has been done. I'm not sure. I'm just going to give you my number from my experience. I think at least in the United States, and I don't want to pinpoint too much in the United States. Let's throw in first world countries. The reason I'm using first world countries is because they have access to some elements that make it easier for you to jump into crypto. For example, having access to bank accounts, having access to internet, having access to mobile devices, and so on and so forth, having access to reliable electricity. Those are things that for us we take for granted, but on other developing economies, they are not, and it makes an extra barrier in order for you to go into crypto. So if we take all these elements, which are kind of making it easier for us to go into crypto, how far away are we from getting the 51%? I think we're about maybe 11%. So it's really far down the line.
Right. We got a ways to go. We're early. So I want to thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate the conversation. Thank you. It's been an eye opener and learning opportunity for me. So thank you. My last question is, for people who want to find out more information about you, want to find out more about Roseon.Finance, more about what you do, how can they do that?
Well, they can go to our website. It'll be Roseon.Wallet.com. So that is Roseon, ROSEO, wallet.com. They can go to our website. They can also join our official Telegram group. All the links are going to be in the website, so I don't want to start mentioning thing links here and thing links there. I suggest if anybody wants to learn about this, they can just definitely go to our website, and from the website join our Telegram groups. We have a huge Telegram group right now. We have over 14,457 people. So if they join the group, they can definitely ask, and the community will be doing their customer service to them, definitely. And if not, I'm also available on Telegram. You can join the group and you can send a PM to me if you think that is, necessary, or if you have an idea that you want to discuss. I usually find the time to reach out to people who PM me with this type of questions. So go to our website, roseonwallet.com, join our Telegram group, and you'll definitely be doing the right thing to learn more.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me here tonight.